Hey guys, this is Howard UberTech, back with another video. Today's video is going to be how to remove the firing pin from an M&P Shield. What you're going to need, you would need some small punches. If anything, you might need a small screwdriver like a flathead like this. And I'm going to use this armor's block. It's the SIG armor block. It's actually made for the P320. And it has a bunch of different functionalities for the P320, but I'm going to be using it for this portion right here. It helps to disassemble the firing pin. So if anybody's interested in getting one of these, I'll put a link in the description so this way you guys can go and get yourself one. So that being said, let's get into disassembling the gun. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that we're safe. How we do that is we push this button right here, and that will drop the magazine like that. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the slide to the rear while pushing up on this slide lock. And so you push up and grab the slide from here and pull back. There are two different ways to taking off this slide. One is by pulling the trigger, and the other is by moving this little yellow lever outward. So what you do is you take one of your punches or a screwdriver or something, and you get behind that little lever and you pull it out just like that. Once it's in that position, now you can take the slide off. So what we're going to do is we're going to rotate this piece right here down to the 6 o'clock position. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the slide and we're going to pull back to the rear in this direction. You're going to hear a click, and then that's when you can follow it forward and push, take off the slide. We can put the grip module down. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take the spring off by pulling on this part right here upward like that. The next thing we do is we take out the barrel, which you would push up like this. You're going to notice that the barrel will slide forward slightly, and then you pull up and out like that. Put that down. Next thing we are going to do is we're going to take the screwdriver that we have here, which is going to be a pretty small screwdriver. It's going to be a very small flathead, just like that. And what we're going to do is there's this plastic piece right here. It's white, you could see it. And the object here is to put the screwdriver, the flathead, on top of this white part, and you're going to push downward like that. Okay, so when you go in, you're pushing down to compress the spring that's in there. Once you go in there and you compress the spring, you're going to take your pointer finger and you're going to slide this back plate upward like this, and it's going to come right out. Now you can take the screwdriver out. The next thing we're going to do, put this aside, make sure you don't lose that. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to push down on this circle silver part. And when you do that, it's going to release the firing pin. So you just want to, just to be on the safe side, keep your finger over the firing pin, this white little part, because you don't want it to shoot out. So you're going to push down and slide it on out. All right guys, now that we have our firing pin out, it's time to disassemble the firing pin. I'll be using the SIG armor block because this piece right here is really good to disassemble firing pins. You basically insert it there, and when you start to compress the spring, the sear goes into the armor's block, and then the bottom part doesn't move left or right. It kind of locks in and it makes it a little bit easier. You don't really need this to do it, but if you had it, it would make life a lot easier. The object here is to compress the spring downward, so this way this plastic piece right here, this white plastic piece, can come out of the spring and slide off. And I'll show you what that looks like. So with this hand, I'm going to compress the spring, and with the right hand, I'm going to lift it out. You can see I'm lifting it out of the spring and pulling backwards. like that. And then let go the spring, decompress it slowly so it doesn't fly off somewhere. This is what I was talking about, how there's like this little area right here where this plastic piece is pushed upward, so it gets locked in when this spring is in there pushing upward. Just as a side note, you really don't need to take this part off and this spring off. If these two pieces are not really dirty, you can keep that on and just kind of wipe down this side and then slide it over and wipe down this side, and it should be good. But if you had to take it off, you just basically slide it off like that, and that's it. This spring is just really just laying inside this plastic piece, and that is it. Okay, so now let's put everything back together. We'll take the white plastic piece, our spring, we'll lay it into this little thing and push back, so it's going to look like this. Take our firing pin, and the one with the little striker of the firing pin is going to go into that spring just like that. I'm going to push it back just like this. The rear of the firing pin should look like this, where the flat piece, this flat piece right here, is going to line up with the flat piece of this plastic part right here. Also notice that this part of the sear is upward and this little nub is to the left when you're looking at the firing pin in this orientation. Then what we're going to do is take our spring and we're going to put the spring over the firing pin. Again, I'm going to use my block, making sure that this is still in the proper orientation. This side is still in the proper orientation. Put it into the block. Then I'm going to compress the spring. Once it's compressed enough, I'm going to slide this back on, just like that. And then let the spring come up and capture this plastic piece, just like that. And that's what it's going to look like. Now that we have the firing pin back together, we're going to put it back in our slide and put everything back together. You're going to take this portion of the firing pin and you're going to put it down into this hole. This part of the firing pin, that's going to face upward, so it's going to go in just like this. Just like that. Next thing you're going to do is you're going to take your punch or your screwdriver, whatever you're using, and we're going to push down on this circle part while pushing down and compressing the firing pin. So push down and then push this in, and then you could see now this part is holding the firing pin in. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get this back plate back into the slide. So when you put the back plate back in, there's this lip right here, the silver part, and this silver part, and that has to slide into right here and here. So what I try to do is I try to get it set up where once I compress this white part, which is part of the firing pin, once I compress that, I can just take my thumb and I can push inward like this, and it'll just fall into place. So I kind of set it up like this, where it's going to be able to fall right back into place, and then I take my punch or whatever I'm using and I push downward on this part right here, and that's it. You slide it in. Now we're going to put everything back together and do a function test to make sure everything's working properly. The next thing we do is we put the barrel back in. This part of the barrel goes into this hole right here, but from the inside first. So it's just like this. This part is facing up. So it goes in just like that. push the barrel back in, and you could see it falls into this area right here. Next, we're going to put our spring back in. We're going to take the thicker part of the spring right here, and we're going to put it in right here. So it lays in there just like this. And then what we're going to do is we're going to take the spring and compress it while pushing down. So we're going to compress while pushing down like that. Okay, it's going to look just like that. Next, we're going to put the slide back on the grip module. We're going to take the two rails from here and here, and those two are going to go right into here and here. So we're going to slide it on just like this. And then the next piece right here, you got to make sure that that lines up to go right in here. Just like that. Now from here, what we're going to do is the same thing. We're going to push up on the slide lock while pulling the slide to the rear. So push up, pull the slide to the rear. Now the slide is locked back. We take our punch or our screwdriver, whatever we're using, and we take this yellow lever and we push it back up to the upward position. Next, we take our takedown lever and we push it to the 3 o'clock position. We take the slide, pull to the rear. Once you hear the click from the slide lock releasing, follow the slide forward, and now everything is back together. Next, I'm going to do a function test, and how we do that is by pulling back on the slide while pushing forward with this hand. And we do that a few times, just like that. Next, point the gun in a safe direction, pull the trigger. Everything sounds like it's working perfectly. Guys, you have successfully field stripped the gun, removed the firing pin, disassembled the firing pin, and put everything back together. If you felt this video was helpful, please give it a big thumbs up. If you have any questions, please put in the comments. If you haven't already, please subscribe. Every subscriber helps. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.